Right now on Good Morning America First Look, the Secret Service finds this so-called hunting stand in Florida with a direct line of sight to Air Force One. The new security precautions reportedly taken by the president overnight.
The deadly crash at a major airport, a cargo plane skidding off the runway into the water. Plus, in a separate development, more flight delays being blamed on air traffic control staffing issues.
Inside the brazen and historic heist at the Louvre, the French crown jewels stolen, how the thieves pulled it off, the crucial clues left behind, and why one expert believes it could be related to another theft just last month.
Rising tensions in the Caribbean, the U.S. attacking another alleged drug boat, and now President Trump vowing to cut off aid to Colombia. His accusations overnight against that country's president.
Plus, what's next for disgraced former Congressman George Santos now that President Trump has commuted his sentence?
Caught on camera, the terrifying crash during this mountain biking event.
Mile-high meltdown. The Giants suffer an epic collapse at the hands of the Broncos.
And later, why more Americans are choosing a cruise for their next vacation.
From ABC News, this is Good Morning America First Look.
Good Monday morning, everyone. I'm Mola Lengi.
I'm Maggie Rulli, and we began with the developing story. President Trump reportedly taking new security precautions overnight.
Yeah, the new security measures come after the Secret Service found something suspicious in a tree near the airport that the president uses in Florida. This morning, new security questions surrounding President Trump after the Secret Service found this so-called hunting stand with a direct line of sight to Air Force One. The hunting hideout was found next to Palm Beach International Airport just before President Trump arrived Friday. FBI Director Kash Patel saying the agency has since taken the investigatory lead, flying in resources to collect all evidence from the scene and deploying our cell phone analytics capabilities. President Trump reportedly took extra precautions, leaving Florida last night. Fox News citing a White House official saying Trump walked more quickly onto Air Force One, using a smaller staircase instead of the larger ramp he typically uses. This comes after 2 assassination attempts against the president last year. Just weeks ago, Ryan Ruth was found guilty of one of those attempts. Secret Service agents say they found him hiding in the bushes at Trump's West Palm Beach golf course, armed with an assault rifle. Meanwhile, over the weekend, a different kind of security scare across the country as Vice President J.D. Vance traveled to Camp Pendleton in Southern California for an event celebrating the Marines' 250th anniversary. During a live fire exercise, an artillery round prematurely detonated over the busy I-5 freeway, damaging a California Highway Patrol vehicle with flying shrapnel. Governor Gavin Newsom posting this image on social media with the caption, "Next time, the Vice President and the White House shouldn't be so reckless with people's lives for their vanity projects." Fortunately, nobody was hurt, but police recommending a review of communications between government agencies.
An investigation's underway into how a cargo plane skidded off the runway and into the water at Hong Kong's airport. 2 security workers were killed when the plane hit their vehicle. The plane's 4 crew members were safely rescued. Officials say the weather was not a problem and the pilots never reported any issues. The plane had taxied halfway down the runway before skidding. Here at home, more flight disruptions as we enter day 20 of the government shutdown. Staffing issues among air traffic controllers working without pay triggered several delays at major airports yesterday, including Dallas, Chicago, Atlanta, and Newark.
A manhunt is underway for the thieves who stole priceless jewels from the world's most visited museum, the Louvre in Paris. One expert believes this heist could be related to another theft in Paris just last month. Here's ABC's Alison Kosik.
This morning, the hunt is on for a gang of thieves on the run, with some of France's priceless crown jewels after a stunning raid on Paris's world-famous Louvre, which has some of the best security of any museum in the world.
I can tell you that I've been to the Louvre before, and it's top-rate security. This is a bold plan, and sometimes bold plans work because they are just so bold.
The heist in broad daylight took only 7 minutes. Officials say just before the museum was set to open, 4 men disguised as construction workers gained access by moving this ladder mounted on the back of a truck up against the second-floor balcony. 2 of them using power tools to cut into the Apollo Gallery, where Napoleon III's crown jewels were on display. After threatening security guards who then rushed to evacuate the museum, police say the masked men moved efficiently, using small chainsaws to open display cases. Police believe this video obtained by BFM TV shows one suspect trying to access one of the cases. The suspects took 8 pieces, including sets of sapphire and emerald necklaces and earrings, elaborate diamond brooches, 2 diadems, and Napoleon's wife, Empress Eugenie's diamond-encrusted golden crown, nearly 200 years old, which prosecutors say was recovered at the scene. Reportedly damaged and left behind as the thieves made their getaway on scooters. Authorities say the thieves tried to set fire to that ladder platform before they fled. Among the items found at the scene, a blowtorch, gasoline, gloves, a walkie-talkie, 2 angle grinders, a blanket, and a yellow vest worn by one of the robbers, found about 2 miles away. Any forensics on those items could be crucial.
We're now in a race against time. The criminals are going to try to hide what they have just done. And by the way they hide it is by breaking up those jewels, by recutting those stones, by melting down the precious metals and making them completely unintelligible. And the police have a very short window to locate these thieves and try to recover these items.
No price tag has been put on the collection stolen, but to date, the most valuable stolen artwork in the world remains the 13 pieces stolen from Boston's Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum back in 1990, with some valuing the pieces, including a Vermeer and a Rembrandt, at more than $500 million.
It was a few years ago. It used to be that they would disappear, and then they would call and try to ransom the items back or try to get a reward or something like that. Now thieves, the gangs that are operating today, are just trying to break them up for cash.
One expert says the Louvre heist could be related to a theft just last month at Paris's Museum of Natural History, where gold was stolen. The expert saying that theft may have been viewed as a practice run. About 60 investigators are working this case and believe they're dealing with organized crime. French President Macron calls the heist an attack on French heritage. Mola, Maggie?
Thanks, Alison. Prince Andrew faces a new investigation stemming from the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. Police in London are looking into allegations that he once asked an officer serving as his bodyguard to dig up dirt on Virginia Giuffre, the woman who accused him of sexually abusing her as a teenager. This development comes just days after Andrew gave up his royal titles. Giuffre wrote a memoir before she died by suicide in April. It comes out tomorrow. The headline in one British tabloid reads, "It's the end of the line, Andrew." He has denied having any sexual encounters with Giuffre.
Now to the rising tensions in the Caribbean. President Trump says he's cutting off aid to Colombia, calling that country's president an illegal drug leader. And there's been another U.S. airstrike in the region. ABC's Nicole D'Antonio has details. Good morning, Nicole.
Well, Mola, good morning. Colombia has long been a key ally in the U.S. war on drugs, but President Trump is sharply criticizing that country's president, escalating the already high tensions in that region. This morning, President Trump doubling down on his threat to Colombia.
They make drugs. They refine drugs. They make cocaine. They have cocaine factories. They have no fight against drugs.
Trump vowing to cut off U.S. aid to the country, accusing Colombian President Gustavo Petro of being an illegal drug leader. The threat comes on the heels of controversial airstrikes on several alleged drug boats in the Caribbean, including this one. The 7 strikes so far, killing 32 alleged traffickers. But Colombian officials say the U.S. also killed an innocent fisherman, violating international law. U.S. officials claim all of the vessels were cartel ships smuggling cocaine to the U.S. But even some Republicans question whether this use of deadly force is legal.
So all of these people have been blown up without us knowing their name, without any evidence of a crime.
Also overnight, President Trump addressing the increasingly fragile ceasefire in the Middle East, insisting the truce in Gaza remains in effect despite new fighting.
They've been quite rambunctious. They've been doing some shooting.
Nearly 4 dozen Palestinians were killed yesterday after Israel launched a series of airstrikes on Rafah. Israel claiming the strikes were in retaliation for Hamas attacks that left 2 soldiers dead. Trump downplaying the violence, blaming it on rebels.
Maybe the leadership isn't involved in that, some rebels within, but either way, it's going to be handled properly.
Vice President J.D. Vance saying even a sustained ceasefire will still see flare-ups of violence. And back in the Caribbean, President Trump has justified using the military to kill suspected drug smugglers by declaring that the U.S. is in a formal armed conflict, calling the drug cartels unlawful combatants. Now, one goal has been to pressure the government of Venezuela and now Colombia. Maggie.
Thanks, Nicole. The Blue Jays are staying alive in the Major League playoffs. They beat the Mariners 6-2 last night, setting up tonight's deciding Game 7 of the American League Championship Series. The winner faces the Dodgers in the World Series.
Anything's more exciting than Game 7. Time now for your Monday morning weather.
Good morning. We're going to be waking up to rain along the East Coast. The good news is a lot of it will be exiting the big cities by the time the Monday morning commute gets underway. But over eastern Long Island, up into parts of New England, there will be a wet Monday morning commute, some big puddles up there, and then up toward the Boston area and up toward central and northern parts of New England by midday. The good news is over northern New England, they've been suffering from a severe to even an extreme drought, and they will be getting 1 to 2 inches of rain. So that'll put a little bit of a dent in the drought. Elsewhere, pretty quiet across the rest of the country. Meteorologist Jeff Smith, ABC News.
Coming up, a potential game changer when it comes to peanut allergies in kids.
Also ahead, the man running into action, leaping inside of this out-of-control SUV to save the driver.
And later, a historic comeback in the NFL. A terrifying crash during this mountain biking event in Utah. Spanish rider Adolf Silva was trying to complete a double backflip when he crashed on a steep hill, landing on his head. He was airlifted to a hospital, but we're told he was conscious and alert.
Well, a Montana man turned into a real-life superhero after a driver suffered a seizure, losing control of an SUV. Check out this amazing video. Marcus Cluin saw the vehicle going in circles in reverse after the driver had fallen out. Cluin risks himself, jumping inside the moving SUV, hitting the brakes before anyone got hurt. He says he was just acting on his instinct.
We turn now to a potential game changer in fighting childhood food allergies. This morning, a new study shows feeding peanuts early may help reduce food allergies in children by nearly 50%.
This study confirms what research has shown for over a decade. It's that the early introduction of allergenic foods, in this case, peanuts in young children and babies, can reduce the risk of food allergies long term.
Researchers in Philadelphia found peanut allergies in young children fell by 43%, and overall food allergies dropped by about 1/3. This after the American Academy of Pediatrics released new infant feeding guidelines in 2015 and again in 2017, encouraging parents to introduce peanuts and other allergenic foods at around 4 to 6 months of age.
That not only includes peanuts and eggs, but also dairy, wheat, fish, shellfish, soy, sesame, tree nuts. That actually might teach young developing gut immunity that certain foods are friends and not enemies, thus reducing the risk of a food allergy later on in life.
Researchers analyzed the health records of about 40,000 children. They found egg allergies became the most common food-related allergy in recent years, while peanut and milk allergies became less common. Now, despite the good news on peanut allergies, experts say more study is needed on kids who are Black, Asian, and Hispanic.
Coming up, the video as fire breaks out inside a plane mid-flight.
Also ahead, what's next for disgraced former Congressman George Santos now that President Trump has commuted his sentence? Back now with images from inside an Air China flight forced to make an emergency landing after officials say a passenger's lithium battery ignited, sending smoke and flames pouring out of the overhead bin. Crew members quickly put out the fire. No one was hurt. Back in this country, a mid-air scare for a United flight from Denver to LA. A Boeing 737 made an emergency landing in Salt Lake City after a mystery object cracked the windshield at 37,000 feet. A pilot reportedly suffered a bruised and bloodied arm.
We turn now to disgraced former Congressman George Santos, dismissing his critics after President Trump commuted his prison sentence. Disgraced Republican George Santos is taking a victory lap after President Trump commuted his 7-year sentence for identity theft and wire fraud.
I'm not paying too much attention to the curl clutching of the outrage of my critics and of the people predominantly on the left who are going to go out there and try to make a big deal out of something like this.
Santos, who was convicted last year, speaking out for the first time since leaving prison, slamming critics who opposed his release.
I'm pretty confident if President Trump had pardoned Jesus Christ off the cross, he would have had critics.
Fellow Republicans rallying behind Santos, defending Trump's decision and dismissing claims that Santos was only released because he was a vocal Trump supporter.
We believe in redemption. This is a personal belief of mine, and I hope Mr. Santos makes the most of his second chance.
Santos was originally meant to serve another 6.5 years. The president's commutation not only got him out of prison, but also out of paying any remaining fines, including the $374,000 he was convicted of stealing. Santos now says he has a new mission. The former congressman saying he has no plans to run for office again, but wants to focus on reforming the prison system. Now, Santos is also back on the Cameo app, recording videos at $300 per appearance.
Coming up, why more Americans are choosing a cruise for their next vacation.
Plus, the Halloween parade that went to the dogs.
Time to check the pulse, and we begin with more Americans booking a cruise.
Yeah, AAA predicts next year will be a record year for cruise travel, with nearly 22 million Americans going on a cruise. The most popular destination is the Caribbean, attracting 72% of cruise travelers.
20% of people booking cruises take their kids, and younger, more adventurous travelers are now booking cruises to places like the Arctic and Antarctica. That sounds fun for me. I would sign up for that. Next, the historic comeback in the NFL being dubbed the Mile High Meltdown by New York Giants fans.
Yeah, get this. The Denver Broncos did not score a single point for 3 quarters against the Giants. They were shut out until the fourth quarter when they dropped 33 points, the most in one quarter in team history. It was the largest comeback by a team being shut out entering the fourth quarter ever in the NFL. Field goal as time expired gave them that 33-32 win. One player saying, no matter how much you're down, there's always a will and there's always a way. Inspiring,
life lesson there.
Inspiring stuff. Let's not forget that the Giants also had a meltdown. Last night, Christian McCaffrey of the 49ers backed into the end zone. Or was he pulled in? I don't know. You'd be the judge there. Either way, it counted, and it sealed the Niners' 2010 win over the Falcons. Next, Oklahoma State football fans, they're having a dismal season, but they keep finding ways to have fun.
Yeah, I love this. At Saturday's homecoming game, a long line of fans formed a conga line while dressed up as bananas. I guess because why not?
They're going bananas. Yeah, the fan fun started a few weeks ago when a shirtless section was started by just one guy, and then it kept on growing and popped up again this weekend. Finally, a Halloween dress rehearsal, the 4-legged kind.
Yeah, it's dubbed the world's largest Halloween dog celebration. It happened right here in New York for the 35th time yesterday to show more paw-tastically scary dogs
just
right here.
Great outfits there. Bringing it in spirit.
Checking more top stories, President Trump is suggesting another financial lifeline for Argentina, saying he's now considering a beef deal to help lower prices here in the U.S. Trump saying Argentina is, quote, fighting for its life financially.
Philadelphia police say remains found behind a vacant school are believed to belong to Kata Scott. The 23-year-old had been missing for 2 weeks. A suspect is charged with kidnapping.
Former NFL running back Doug Martin, who played for the Bucs and Raiders, has died in police custody in Oakland. He was reportedly arrested after a home break-in and suffered a medical emergency. He was 36.
A manhunt is underway for the thieves who broke into the Louvre in Paris. It's being called the heist of the decade. The men disguised as construction workers made off with some of the French crown jewels.
Today's weather, a wet morning commute in the Northeast, rain also in the northern plains and upper Midwest, warm across the South.
And finally, we bring you back to the glory days of the VHS.
That's right. Danny New reports on 2 friends with a passion project.
2 childhood friends have made a career out of their favorite hobby from their childhood.
Here's one I have close by. It has a funny title, but it's Training Llamas to Drive.
Since they were growing up in Wisconsin, Joe and Nick here have spent the past 40 years collecting thousands of the most random VHS tapes you can find.
On a Friday night, Joe and I would go in parents' basements and have friends over and watch these videos.
In their adult years, they have called it the Found Footage Festival.
Oh, the Stanley Cup has invaded Earth.
And unlike their heroes at Mystery Science Theater 3000, Joe and Nick do not focus primarily on movies.
Circle, stand up. Circle, stand up.
They instead like to showcase exercise videos.
Start spreading the news.
Tapes of local cable access shows.
And that is a severe blow.
Training videos.
Now rotate hips in one direction.
And even more exercise videos.
It's just a bottomless pit.
Now with a collection of more than 14,000 tapes, Joe and Nick host weekly VCR parties on their YouTube channel.
The public access montage!
And they tour all over the country hosting comedy shows to enjoy this nostalgia with an audience.
There's something even more magical now that it's like this group experience of looking back at the VHS era and laughing.
Good Thursday morning, everyone. It's January 13th. Thanks for joining us.
With their large following online, Joe and Nick say they are sent videos from their followers all the time. And at this point, they feel like they are not just laughing at the past.
There isn't like an organization devoted to saving the types of videos we do. We're kind of it.
And the two are taking their VHS tapes on a tour across America. Mola, what was your first VHS
Back to
tape?
the Future 2. Bring back the VHS.
That's a good one.
Have a great day.